The year was 2006. I was 20 years old and I was playing a £20 poker tournament on William Hill Poker. My friend Nikki was with me on a Skype call and I was screen sharing. At one point early on in the tournament, I was dealt pocket aces. I won a huge pot and was dealt pocket aces the next hand. I won another really big pot. Then I was dealt kings the very next hand and I stacked someone. Then I was dealt kings again the very next hand and stacked someone again. I had a monstrous stack. I was an overwhelming chip leader. It was a commanding position. Nikki, through gritted teeth, slightly enviously, said to me, Pete, I quote, "If you don't win this poker tournament from here, then you do not deserve to play the game." End quote. That's right. I confess. This quote, this gimmick that you have grown to love on this channel, that's become a huge part of the brand, the company of Carrot Corner. It's not even mine. It came from my good friend Nikki, with whom I still play golf today, with whom I talk with all the time. Really great guy. Shout out to him. But yeah, he is the true author of that quote, guys. Not me. I guess I'm a scammer. Anyway, speaking of not deserving to play the game, today, Carrot Corner coach Spencer James joins me to decide if a 25NL contestant that sent in some hands deserves to play the game. Spencer is a very strong poker professional with a real true EV focus. He's really obsessed with like squeezing the lemon and getting every last drop of EV out of the fruit, if you will forgive the analogy. And his analysis with me today, I found it really enlightening. It was an awesome session. I hope you enjoy. If you are thinking about investing in your Carrot Corner poker education in your dream after this video, there's no better time to do it, because for July only, we are running a promo where we're giving away subscriptions. 1 month free subscription when you pick up our course Cash Injections, 2 months free when you pick up grade 1 of the Carrot Poker School, and 6 months free subscription, half a year of our premium subscriber videos when you pick up the full scholarship and take the plunge with the whole Carrot Poker School. But enough of that for now. Let's see if this student deserves to play the game. I did not deserve to play the game, by the way, for what it's worth, because on that fateful afternoon in 2006, I, Pete Clark, finished second in that £20 William Hill poker tournament. Enjoy the video. All right, we already have what is in my mind, and you can tell me whether you agree or disagree with this, Spencer, but in my mind, there is one play here that is abominable, which is folding. Yeah. Another play here, which is also really bad, and then there's a play here that's really good. That's how it is in my mind. How is it in yours?
Very, very clear.
Okay, so what are we doing?
4 big blinds.
4 big blinds, absolutely. So we go for a c-bet of this sizing on flop. Any critique of this? You okay with this?
I mean, it's certainly a fine play in theory. I'm sure we're going to have some multiple different sizes available to us. I would probably just go small, though. I think that we're going to get similar levels of fold equity for this size and 2 blinds. So I think that 2 blinds is probably better with a poor hand. When we start sizing up, Villain's defense, Villain's theoretical defense becomes more natural. Like if we start potting this, they need to just call with pairs on the board, flush draws and good straight draws. If we go 1 blind, they have to peel with, ace 6 with the ace of hearts. So I think the smaller we go, the harder we make their decision.
Love it, especially on boards like this where it's very, very easy to just have a set of hands that you defend and a set of hands that you don't, right? Because when you have a 7, a jack, a king, or a draw, you want to defend. And when you don't have something like that, you want to fold. So I think this is a fairly inelastic board. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, love it. So right away on the flop here, you might think, oh, this is mundane. This doesn't matter. Like, oh, this isn't where you should be studying. Well, actually, you are leaving money on the table with this bet size. What you should be doing in this spot is potting your really good stuff and down betting your really bad stuff. You can size up when you've got like a nutty draw with loads of outs or a few more outs, because like the implieds of making that pot bigger and then winning a huge pot make up for it. But when your draw is to like a garbage straight on a 2-tone board and you basically have near nothing, you probably do better by just c-betting smaller. I'm a fan of c-betting. I don't mind in this spot actually if you check and delay it, but I'm still a fan of c-betting like bad hands bottom of range against fish, because it's just a printing play. You don't get raised enough, you over realize both fold equity and equity, But yeah, think about your sizing here. People pick this sizing because they say, I'm going to play a polarized strat, I'm going to deploy X sizing. They're thinking too much on the macro level and not enough on the zoomed in vacuum micro level here.
Absolutely.
7 on the turn. We have the chance to barrel here. Having bet big on the flop, what's your fold equity radar saying here? And I want you to answer this instinctively, because I think a fold equity radar is something that we hone off game through study, but we deploy in game quite intuitively and quite quickly. So what's it telling you?
Initial impression is a little bit worrisome when out of position is called such a big bet, called a not such a big bet, called a 60% pot bet. They've almost heavily filtered towards having a decent piece of the board. You do have to be a little bit careful because there will be some natural folds like ace 10 and pocket sixes and stuff. So we can achieve okay levels of fold equity. However, I'm not just jumping out of my skin because I feel like a king will be a decent portion of range, a jack will be a decent portion of range.
Yep.
Decent flush draws will be a decent portion of range, and these hands won't fold.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm neither here nor there with this spot. Is probably a good answer.
Yep. I think my initial fold equity radar impression was that, at 25 and L, which is where this hand comes from, against a limp caller who's called a bigger bet, I think this is an underperforming fold equity spot. Like, my fold equity radar is telling me that, like, it's not good, basically. It's it's actually telling me that, like, I don't want to bluff a hand with this little equity on this node, on this card, because the 7 is one of the things that's likely to call fold on a brick turn. That's no longer call folding. The jack, as you say, is probably never folding. The king is never folding. The flush draw is never folding. Yeah, I mean, there are some folds here from queen 9s of the world and 9-8s and stuff like that, and queen 10s maybe, and ace 10s. But yeah, I just don't think it's enough in this spot. Anyway, we do check here, which I think I like. We do hit the straight on the river, so very, very big hand now after this action sequence.
Really?
We probably just want to... Okay, well, let's talk about glutton theorem, or greed theorem from CPS for a second, Spencer. I know you're CPS trained, so what would greed theorem say about this spot and why?
Greed theorem is the idea that the larger we go with high equity hands, the more money we make on average, being that although we get called more often for smaller sizes, that doesn't trump the fact that the size of the bet we make is potentially more important. So if we 2x pot and get called 33% of the time compared to getting called 60% of the time for 75% pot, the math just works in favor of the larger size.
Yep. So that assumes a couple of things. It assumes, one, that villain isn't like overly elastic and like, massively folding more to the bigger sizing, which usually is not the case, right? That's usually not how humans play. They're usually underreactive to changes in sizing rather than overreactive. And the reason for that is what I would call the curse of human finitism, the limitations on the human. The fact that there are all these other factors for human to think about means that they don't have the luxury of RAM, that a free RAM that a solver has, to actually react properly to sizing changes. If you think about a solver, it's not stretched for capacity, it's not stretched for resources. So when you face a solver with like a big bet, the solver can very easily just be like, aha, yeah, this is the sort of bet that's this sizing, and this is the exact reaction I now have, and these are the hands in my range that I'm now folding, and they will ramp up those folds harmoniously with changes in your sizing to make you indifferent and neutralize the hell out of poker and suck the life out of it. And that's not what humans do. Because they have this limited capacity, they're too busy thinking about, is villain bluffing? Do I think villain's bluffing enough in this spot? Do I think villain's over bluffing in this spot? Or if they're a fish, maybe just like, how good is my hand? Well, what do I beat? What do I not beat? That sort of thing. Or maybe just, how am I feeling right now? What do I want to do if they're a fish that's kind of, reacting more emotionally? So because the human's brain is occupied by all these other mechanisms, they just simply don't have either the resources or the operating space to start calibrating a perfect reaction to your exact sizing. And for that reason, we normally see under elasticity. Okay, the second thing that greed theorem thought process there that you just explained assumes is that villain isn't raising a dramatic amount against a smaller bet, which would obviously recoup a lot of the money we would lose by winning less when we get called. How often do people check raise you on the river in this node at 25 NL?
Very, very infrequently.
4% of the time or something, right? Like single digits percent of the time, probably. So,
Reach your own investment ceilings for sure at these stakes. Do
okay,
not rely on the people to reach them for you.
brilliant advice. So, how big are we going to go?
So this is again back to what we were talking about earlier. How greedy can we go? So, assuming that we have very high equity, which we obviously do, we need to find or talk about some thresholds where full equity will start uh, boost where these leaps in fold equity will lie.
Right.
So I'm tempted to go like 29,
Yep.
just under 30 as
Yep.
I feel like there will probably be a visual thing there where there might be leaps in fold equity above 30.
Right. Because again, the human mind is not able to distinguish exact amounts, but they are able to understand the decimal point. So when they see the first number beginning with, you know, a one instead of a zero, for example, like there's a reason that people price stuff at
Yeah, exactly.
99.99 because like when it moves up to 100, the brain just, whether you like it or not, you might think, oh well, that's stupid. I know the difference between 99.99 and 100, and yeah, you do consciously, but your subconscious mind's a fucking idiot, and it's way more likely to buy something that's 99.99 than £100. You know, those five numbers are going to make a big difference. Clearly that's the case. Otherwise this wouldn't be like a global phenomenon that people price stuff like this, right? So yeah, I think something really big. I think if you're going to go above 30, you should go close to 40. And if you're going to go above 20, you should go close to 30. I think this is the way to squeeze every last drop of goodness from the lemon here. So I don't want to go all in here, but I do want to go for a really big overbet. And I like the idea of like 29 or something like that. I'm going to predict that the 25 and L player is going to bet 9 big blinds because that's what they do. And I'm going to predict that I'm going to become angry and you're going to have to appease me.
Yeah, not big enough.
Not big enough.
Yeah.
Leaving money on the table. As Cruiser says, with top of range, I play for stacks, I don't care. This isn't quite like top of range, right? We can lose here, but we still want to play for more money than this, for sure. Okay, King 10, calling here. No problem with this. This is a shorter stack player, right? So, you know, weaker player.
I would entertain the thought of raise, but anyway.
Yeah, so one idea of raise here could be that it's fine in theory. So mixing it in is useful fold equity. Another idea of raise here could be that if you think people are under 4 betting, then it's just a good way to go in general. So yeah, there's definitely an argument for it.
And if you note that players on the button are opening hands that shouldn't open,
Right.
they're not going to defend it wide enough. So if you see someone open the 9-7 offsuit, you mark that down and say attack that wide range.
Yep, 100%. Maybe 3-bet's just the best play here, actually, because of how passively they're going to play post flop as well. Like your King 10 is going to do okay, I think, out of position against that range that calls you. Yeah, I'm actually kind of a fan of 3-bet. The more I think about this, you're definitely right to flag that as something we should entertain. Okay, I have an instinct that's screaming something at me here. Let's see if yours is the same.
Absolutely, that all day long.
Raise
I
up.
like I like a relatively small check raise. Yeah, going away from theory, giving ourselves a decent price on the check raise bluff,
Yep,
forcing him to continue with unnatural hands. Yeah, I would
nice.
check raise as well.
Again, catering to that lack of elasticity that we're going to see
Yeah,
in this spot. So a bit big maybe for like what we're trying to do exploitatively at these stakes. Definitely a fine sizing in theory, but we
I'd
can
find
improve this by dialing it down and giving ourselves more bang for the buck.
Yeah, if we have 7-6, we're taking this size, but when we have this hand, let's exploitatively get ourselves a better price because villain will see check raise and say yes or no.
Yep.
They will not calibrate to the size to a degree.
Are you at all concerned about this hand being chosen given its kind of flimsiness, or is your fold equity radar just saying this is a high fold equity spot?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think yeah, I'll have to admit there that I was in the theory streets and seeing the 5 of clubs, and we're like, yep, very good turn for range. Will be fine. Should be finding lots of bluffs, and this got the check mark. But now that actually dissect the range that we're up against and what he needs to fold, I'm starting to like it less and less.
Mm,
I think after they filter towards that, calling a big check raise,
mm.
they're going to have real good pieces of the board, and they're going to have to recognize that decent hands could be considered folds, which I don't think that'll happen. So my fold equity radar is actually telling me that this is an over defended spot. So I'd want to be pretty selective with the bluffs I choose.
So what just happened there was that you had your fold equity radar on standby. It had gone into like sleep mode, and
Hmm.
then your GTO radar, but your GTO brain was like, yeah, probably passable. Although I do think this hand is like kind of terrible to
Hmm.
bluff with, given
Hmm.
its properties in GTO. Like pretty
Yep.
much as bad redraws you can have in this spot, and a negative blocker in the King of Spades, probably. Given there's some
Hmm.
offsuit hands like floating your flop raise here. Maybe it's okay actually.
I
I
think
don't
it'd be
know.
pretty neutral. Yeah.
It'll be pretty neutral, yeah, because it swings like kind of either side of the pendulum here, like there's positive, there's negative, whatever, cancels out. But yeah, I think that's interesting because it's so easy to be in the wrong mode of operating as a poker player and to have like the true EV seeking radar switched off and just be like,
Hmm.
oh, general pattern recognition, boom, GTO study, boom, GTO wizard, boom, I do
Yep.
this. And then you're like, hold on a minute, I didn't even hand read the opponent. I didn't even think
Yep.
about it from their point of view. I didn't even think about how close they're going to get to defense or whatever. So yeah, my initial instinct here was just give up. I feel like flop
Yep.
is overfolded. Turn is probably underfolded due to them at 25 and now just not reacting enough to this card and how good it is for us and how many hands it completes for us. It completes 7-5, 6-5, which can raise flop 8-9, um, pairs up some stuff, adds equity to 5-4, 5-3, etc. It's just I'll blow EV card for buttons range. I don't think they're enough, like they're reacting enough to that. So I think I'd give up here, yeah. We hit the river. Um, definitely checking now, taking the showdown, I think,
Hmm.
on this node.
Hmm. Winning against 8-7, 8-7,
Yeah,
9.
8-7-8's plenty of stuff we're winning against here. Easy check and clear check fold. I mean, I can't see there being anything,
Absolutely.
any discussion here.
Good
Right.
call.
What's the punishment going to be for Hero if he calls here?
Yeah, that's a zero for sure if he calls. Super condensed, has to turn eights into a bluff, and just choosing this massive size. That's an absolute abomination if you call.
All right, Edith, let's have a countdown from 5 here and we'll see if the call gets made. Good
Thank you,
fold.
God.
Hero's
Well
playing
done.
okay. He's playing all right so far, I
Yeah,
have
he's
to
playing
say.
good.
There's some missteps, but for a 25 and L player, like this is not bad. Not bad at all. Okay. Big drop, so you can go pretty big with these hands because they're essentially functioning as value.
Yeah.
Kind of value that likes fold equity. It's kind of win-win. I think I'd always bet this hand. It's just so good. I just want to pile money in the pot. I don't think I ever want to check against
Ooh,
pot. I'm just mining. I'm definitely not raising.
yeah.
And
So
the reason is that, well, again, let's talk about your fold equity radar here. What's it saying?
absolutely, this is very interesting in terms of that. So when you face pot from a limp caller, then dogs pot, they're going to have a very strong range. They're going to over continue.
Yep.
So even with a hand that is, it wouldn't be absolutely abominable to raise this hand, but if you ever had like ace ten of clubs, that hand is going to lose lots of money by raising because he's going to call
Right.
95 plus the time, if not jam all in.
Yeah,
So
and while it's not abominable to raise this hand in terms of like EV compared to zero, it is abominable to raise this hand when you think about your EV compared to the best line, which is call, mine, see if you
yeah,
get there, and if you do get there, villain's going to have such a strong range that you're probably going to make all the money anyway. It's one of these spots where if you get there, you will make all of the money almost all of the time, and if you don't, you want to cut your losses, and your fold equity is just not there. So raising here is like a huge mistake. It's huge. Terrible. Great. Okay, hero.
nice.
Okay, so we're still in call mode. Ooh, the check. The check.
Yeah,
And
we
we
have to check
value
back on
bet?
it. No, we have to check back, I think. I think that are we relatively natural for villain to find check jams on the ace? I think that's it's monkey see an ace that's good for raise eye check, and
Maybe. I do think
raising
this is
check jam is
underprotected. But I think what's happening now is that villain's just getting freaked out with two pair a ton and they're just check calling because they're not going to fold, but they also don't want to
mm.
bet anymore because they're freaked. So the only thing
How
that,
grim is putting in a bet and getting jammed on there.
yeah, you have to call it off and it's not happy at all. Yeah, it's pretty bad. But then again, villain's range probably does shift somewhat now towards like king, queen, queen 10,
Queen, yeah.
jack 9, all these sort of things. So I don't actually hate putting in like a smallish bet here. I don't think we're getting check raised very often, and I think two pair is probably just calling us for the most
What
part.
do
And
you
I
think our
think
investment ceiling is versus King Queen though? Do you think we're going to get that bet out of him?
no, but sometimes we hit the river, and then there's other times when like we don't get to value bet the river because it comes something like bad or whatever. So I would say there's like some degree of like getting value now rather than later there. But you're right, it's not a huge investment ceiling, so probably check is just fine here. Maybe you can bet small. I think check is just fine here. Yeah. If I was gonna bet, I'd go a bit smaller. I just don't think your hand is like this is worth this much. The queen on the river. And villain bets one big blind, one BB. I'm just calling. I mean, like I don't really know what else we could possibly do. Surely everything else is absurd. Yep. Okay, so again, like not a badly played hand at all. The old one big blind bluff with the 6-4.
Damn.
Imagine we leveled ourselves into folding. Like, I'm not going to be milked by this.
Some players will do that.
Yeah. Disregard pot odds. Yes, this hand is like reasonable. I think the flop is really good. We avoided what would have been a bad raise. The turn is like a bit too big. Yeah, I'd give this hand like a solid 6 or something. I mean, it's all right. Yeah.
I think the not raising flop was the key of this hand for sure, and I'm impressed that he didn't find it because I feel like a lot of players will just see this hand as, a very natural raise.
Some people are
Facing
just
that.
scared though, Spencer. Like you might be like, "Oh, this guy's great. You know, he didn't raise the flop. Like he's a real magician for 25 and now." And the guy sat there in game going, "Oh no!" Like this is his thought process, and you're like, "Yeah, this guy's so fucking powerful and strong." And he's sat there like, "Ah." Could be. You don't know, man. You don't know the trauma that poker inflicts on these people that are grinding away at 25 and L paying that rake. You don't know how bad it is. They're damaged. Gross.
Interesting.
I wonder how bad fold is.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I think we're pretty close to indifferent. Who's
Yeah.
squeezing? Who's squeezing wide enough there?
Ace five's a clear bluff in that last hand. Unless it's... Oh, no, it's two pair.
Ace five was too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, that's closer. Maybe not.
I mean, if we're not bluffing King Jack, we can't bluff Ace five, right?
Right. I don't know if we are or not. I mean, I don't care. It seems too close to
I
care
think
about.
that I would find. I think I would just like stubbornly pure peel this in game, but like when both instincts was like big size, strong range.
Shallower stacked here. Like, we're only 100
Yeah.
deep. SPR's coming down. It's not very helpful. We're not doing amazingly. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I feel like this is actually a fold. Like, see if I'm going to be super honest with myself here. Like, see if I'm actually going to be, like, frank with myself and brave and not be a little shit. I feel like we should fold.
Let's just think about what like the average 25 players squeezing range for this size will be. And they're going to just have
Ace king,
10
queens,
10
kings,
queen plus, right?
aces,
You know
ace
what I mean?
queen suited, ace jack suited, king queen suited. Like, our hand is just like a big dog.
It's
Yeah.
going to be so top down. Like they're supposed to be polar, like and three
Yeah.
bet ace seven suited and
Yeah.
jack 10 suited and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
just
Fold.
yeah.
Just fold. Yeah, just fold. I'm sold. Yeah.
But as I said, I wouldn't find it in game.
No.
I would see ace jack suited and be like, I want to continue.
Ego. It's not just
Yeah.
you want to continue, it's like, if I fold, I'm folding too much of my range. It's like that whole fucking shit scared, insecure. Like, all this stuff comes from fear. Fear is the enemy. Like, anytime someone acts like a dick, and I would say that calling ace jack here is acting like a dick, it comes from fear most of the time. Yeah? Good. Glad we got that sorted, chat. If you're now angry, and you think that I'm a fish for wanting to fold ace jack suited, you're really, really scared. I'm so sorry about that. This is how you get the trolls, Spencer. You know, the real, like, visceral trolls in the comment section. This is how you get them.
What do we think about this call? Oh,
It's horrible. It's absolutely disgustingly bad.
like
This
yeah,
is
we
a clear fold.
as a general rule, and you have second pair, you call, but this is not a general situation. As we've said about that pre-flop range, it is far stronger than it should be, smashing this board, and you have like tinted outs, as Lamb would say.
Just disgusting,
It's like-
this call.
Yeah.
This call is like taking, like, your monitor and going outside and putting it in the road and then watching as a bus runs over it and then being like, I had to do it. I had to, bro.
Where the fuck do you come up with this shit?
That's exactly what it is, though.
All Pete's students will understand when he hits you with these metaphors. You're just like, what the
This
fuck?
happens in private coaching too, 100%.
Oh, dude, I've been coughing it for years. The blades of grass metaphor got me.
What are the chances that your garden and my garden have exactly the same number of blades of grass? Because that's what you're fucking saying when you say you're indifferent on the turn in equilibrium, like or in real life, right? Equilibrium's rigged. The grass is the same. This is such a bad call. I just want to watch it a few more times. It's like, you know, when you watch like a video of like someone getting the shit beaten out of them on YouTube or Twitter or something, it pops up in your feed and you don't really want to watch it, but like you can't really look away either. Let's just keep watching it. Right. I think we've established that villain, hero, rather, has been playing quite well today overall. Has done a few 25 NLE player things that we'd expect, but this is a huge punt. So this is the first time we're gonna stop and say no, this isn't okay.
No.
Now I think we should bluff off our stack, probably. Nah, maybe not. We do still beat Ace King, and probably people underfold relative hand strength here, absolute hand strength here.
Yeah, we're relying on the fold.
Aces, kings, ace queen.
Yeah, yeah, like
Could happen though. This is player dependent, right? See if you could assure me that this was a reg.
Yeah,
I don't hate the idea of quarter potting turn or fifth
shoving.
potting turn.
Yeah.
Asking them just to like tell us if they actually have us here. If they have like a big hand, and then just jamming the river if they peel on a non-club. I don't think it's like ridiculous. But yeah, I mean check seems
I think betting one is bad. If you're going to go for it, you need to do what you said, because
Yep.
they're going to probably overpeel the hands that we're
Yeah.
that are beating us, and then fold to the next street.
Exactly.
So,
They have a lot of natural call folds here, like ace queen off with a club, aces with a club, kings with a club, naked kings, tens. They just have a lot of like call folds here. So you want to bet like 11 and then shove river here if you're going to play this as a bluff.
something I definitely miss. Like I'm just evaluating fold equity right now, and I'm saying fold equity over better hands right now is so poor that I just completely dismiss it rather than
Right.
seeing that.
And that's a leak, right? Because the SBR here actually is asking us to debate putting the rest of our money in as a bluff in some way. And that's the fold equity radar premise we should really be starting with.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. So we just need to understand that our risk reward is
Spread across two streets.
Yeah, spread across two streets, exactly.
Right. Right. Cool. Really want to jam. No, I don't. I kind of want to jam.
I mean, you missed your shot. If you're going to do it, you had to really tell him you had it by betting turn.
Maybe, but then again, like if I know this is okay, if this is a fetch, there's no way I'm bluffing river ever. It's really low fold equity spot. If this is some net reg and I know that, maybe I can talk myself into this. I don't know. I think it's just a check though.
Like, at least the kings and aces with the clubs are probably going to station you in this line.
Yeah, true.
We win an okay amount of the time versus ace king.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's got to just trump it. Like, I think ace king's a good portion of his range, so checking back for like 20% of the pot is pretty appealing.
King jack suited, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's definitely a check. You've talked me off the ledge of like doing something silly here. I think it's just the pattern of facing a line that you know is underprotected at these stakes when like your own range, like the combination on turn here, right? The reason that I'm so tempted to go like small and then jam river is that our range is extremely strong and very believably like powerful here, and villain's range is probably reliably capped. And when those two things are true, forging some way of like generating fold equity and turning your hand into a bluff is at least something you should like consider.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely less regs.
I'm going to go for villain having aces, even though it's blocked.
Yeah. I'm going ace king.
Ace queen.
Oh,
I don't mind this. You can go a bit bigger though, if you want.
my thought is that fold equity is high. I think that people open call ace queen offsuit more than they should. That's a hand that's going to fold lots to a 60% pot bet.
Yep.
Also need to check raises with very unnatural looking hands like pocket sixes needs to check raise you sometimes.
Yep.
Doesn't happen. So life's just too easy putting in a bet. So I'm going to just do it always.
It might even be one of these spots where villain can check raise like 10-9 at some
Yep.
frequency, and
Yep.
it's like a weird mergy, like protection, thin value raise or something like that. If you go small, maybe
The,
not against the bigger one. I don't know.
the out of position check raise frequency here will be like 25%. And in reality, I think it'll be like sub 5 as played. A call, I guess. How could you ever build a raising range after checking back flop?
I mean, technically speaking, you are allowed to check back. Like, if you are checking this flop, you are allowed to check back like aces and kings, like the more stable overpairs at some frequency, and then you could raise the turn. I don't hate it.
Because he is unfiltered and he can just lead random shit. But
Yeah, and if he does have like sixes, eights, he's really merged here, right? Sixes, eights,
yeah,
nines, sevens are going to be a big part of range. If we raise
yeah.
here by river, there might be some fold equity against that. I don't know how great fold. What's your fold equity radar here saying to you? Like, if villain has nines and you raise turn, I mean, mine is saying it's kind of bad actually in real life.
Yeah, the counter to that is I think that they can just, if they lead range, which is, you know, plausible for them to be doing it,
Mm.
they're going to have ace jack of hearts in range, ace queen in range that
Yep.
will almost certainly fold.
Yep. I don't think
So,
it's too unreasonable.
but yeah, I would default the call.
Mm-hmm. Boom.
Won't
Very
lie.
nice, Trevor.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Let's knuckle down and
yeah.
let's all say a quick prayer to Greed Theorem.
Yeah.
Oh, Greed Theorem, may you guide us in our river action this year and next. May you allow us not to leave money on the table, but to maximize and punish those who have capped ranges and check to us out of position. Oh, Greed Theorem, may I compensate for the fact that people don't check raise enough by betting bigger. Give me the courage and the conviction to maximize magnitude of the pot I can win, and not to fall into the temptation of prioritizing the frequency at which I get called. Amen.
What do we think? Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, bigger.
I don't know that he said his Greed Theorem prayer there, to be honest.
He didn't use his entire time back using his great theorem prayer.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I like bigger. I'm not. I don't think I want to completely slam because like there will be. I think it's natural for them to trap on this river.
Mm-hmm.
Those hands will be very infrequent compared to the potential uh, lesser hands that can bluff catch. Um, and I do
Yeah.
think they'll be revolted by this card, so there will be spikes in fold equity for big sizes, I think.
Mm.
But yeah, I think just under pot is probably my size.
Mm-hmm. So if we're going to go 23, why have we not gone 28, for
Yeah,
example,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
29? Because there's
But
not
yeah,
going to be a spike there. And that's quite a lot of big blinds to leave on the table.
mm, yeah,
Overbetting seems like you're probably going to start spiking now. Because you've filtered turn, I think it's just a bit more credible that you have something now.
where do you think those spikes are? Like pot's definitely one.
Yeah.
What,
Probably like
as we
when your bet starts to look like a normal sizing is another one. Like a normal sizing here is somewhere between 60 and 75%, right?
right,
So if you're gonna go 60% pot, you might do better by going
75.
55% pot because it just looks more like a small bet.
Right.
And then like going 45% pot instead of 55, I don't feel like that's as much as one, but that might be my own bias. I don't really know, to be honest.
Right. What about like the overpot bets, like 180 compared to like 300? You think there's going to be?
Yeah, I think there's a spike there for sure. I think when you go like over 2x pot, there's a spike of some sort. I think when you go all in, there's another spike.
Yeah.
I think if I'm gonna overbet here, I'm gonna go like 49 or something like that, probably. He's gone all in. I know it's kind of hidden there by our money.
Yeah, I can see. My instant reaction is fold.
My reaction is we shouldn't be losing, but we must be.
There's
Like,
so few combos that we're losing to yet. How did they find the bluff?
it's one of these spots where honestly, I just want to accuse villain of having tens, and I just want to be done with life. I just want to say, you have tens. I'm Daniel Negreanu. I know you have tens. I fold. We didn't
You
get to
folded?
see. This net's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna keep my cards hidden. You may as well just shown us the value hand, mate. We know you had a value hand. You're not saving any face by not showing it. Like, at least be like, have the dignity to show your fucking tens, you know? No one thinks you're bluffing here. No one's losing sleep over this shit. So what are you doing not showing your cards? Jesus Christ, man. Alright, guys. Again, if you want to check out Spencer's shit, it is Fold Equity Radar episodes 1 through 3 on Carrot Corner. Check it out. If you want a free video about how to get really good at poker in the initial stages, check out the Beginner's Blueprint by going to Carrot Corner, going to the bottom of the page, and subscribing, putting in your email so we can email you cool stuff. And Pete's Weekly, I have a magazine now, e-magazine thing that I email out to people, newsletter on Thursdays called Pete's Weekly, where I just rant about a topic. It's educational, it's fun, it's a bit more personal. And the email comes from me instead of Carrot Corner. It literally says it's from me, right? So it's really, really different to it saying it's from Carrot Corner. All right, Spencer, anything else you want to give a shout out to or anything like that?
No, all good.
All right.
A lot of fun. Cheers.
Thank you, mate. Thank you, chat. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.